I've spent a lot of time on this comic. This is literally on the 18th of June, so tomorrow for me is the 4th anniversary. I started it during the pandemic, and it's kind of just taken over a lot of my headspace. Like, I could probably draw Lucas in my sleep now, because I've drawn him so many times, though he has changed quite a bit since his original design. But every time I start to get anywhere with a comic, I kind of look around and I'm like, well, these people, they're doing it better than me, they're freaking achieving more, they're getting more likes, so like, what's the point? And I was constantly getting into that rut. And I just kind of had the realization that they're probably thinking the same thing that I've been thinking about them, about someone else's art. Oh, they're so much more talented than me, they're freaking so much further ahead, so on and so forth. And I don't know, something about that just kind of clicked in my head. And then I also was looking at this drawing I'm doing for freaking the 4-year anniversary of Werewolf in the Shadows. And I'm like, I didn't start making this comic for anyone but myself. And while that is good, it's isolating. So slowly over time, this story became more about people, or more for people that are like me and like the type of things I like. But I think I shifted too far in that, because then I got to the point where I was like, well, no one's even seeing this, so what's the fucking point? And I was getting back into that mindset of looking at the numbers and all of that. And I don't know what it was, really, that just made me go, none of that fucking matters. Because the numbers don't matter, because some people are reading it. They're like, every single day that I have a post go up, or a freaking episode of Werewolf in the Shadows go up, there's already a like on it. A single like, but there is already a like on it before I even go and remember to post it to social media. Someone is actively liking each one of the pages. So that means it's not as bad as my brain keeps telling me it is. Because the earlier pages, they're rough. Those are the ones that are currently coming out. My art has improved so much since I started this comic, and this comic has literally grown with me. And I have, like, I'm not even the same gender anymore as when I started this comic. Lucas freaking also is no longer the same character he was at the conceptualization of this. So why should I keep going back to, oh, well, it doesn't matter who's reading this comic. It doesn't matter anything about that. Because it does. At the end of the day, it does matter. Because Lucas has a story. I have a story to tell through Lucas. And it's still isolating. And I think a lot of artists like to show the best parts of their art and how polished everything is, but that's not how art starts out. That's not how freaking comics work. We like to show just the highlights of all the good things that are going through in our comic journey, in our art journey, but that's not what it's like. It's just not, and I think it's time that we all admitted that. Social media is a bunch of bullshit, and I know we keep saying that, but we keep perpetualizing this idea that, oh hey, look at all these views I've gotten on this art piece, or look at how polished and neat this is. And then on like the back end will have like a few stories of like, oh, look at this freaking sketch I did. It's such a quick sketch. But then in actuality, we know we took freaking forever on it. I think we need to get to a point where we acknowledge that it does not look pretty. Like this comic, I love it to bits, but because of the lack of views it gets sometimes and the lack of subscribers it gets, I've literally had like breakdowns and panic attacks about it. I've sobbed over this comic so much because I love it. This comic, I put so much of myself into it that it legitimately has taken over so much of my mental space for anything. So it's kind of weird putting so much of yourself into something and then trying to be like, oh no, it doesn't matter how many views I get, because it does at the end of the day. It does matter, and everyone who says it doesn't, they're liars. Because being an artist is literally attention based. You have to catch people's attention with it. You have to market yourself. You have to be your entire team. And it's exhausting and it's isolating. You have no one but you and your art, basically. And no one talks about that. And if they do, they kind of do it in like a lighthearted manner, like, oh, I am my own agent, I am my own marketer, like, I do all this work. Like, even some of my favorite artists, they gloss over it so much. And at the end of the day, you just kind of sit there like, is it me? Am I the one who's like doing something wrong? Like, why do I feel so isolated? I'm pretty sure we all feel isolated in our journey because community has kind of died. Like, I don't really have a single art friend. I don't think I actually have a single art friend that I talk to. Like, that I actually talk to. I have art mutuals on TikTok and some on Instagram now, but we don't talk. I like their stuff. Sometimes they like my stuff. I'm going to be honest, usually I'm liking their stuff and they're not liking mine, but like, whatever. If they didn't want to, they just wanted followers, and that's fine. Some people just want followers, but I think I really miss the community aspect of like being the art kid in school, because like I still sometimes talk to freaking one of my art friends, and she was actually the person who got me back into art, because I had a teacher literally tell me being an artist is not a real career, choose something else, when we were presenting what we wanted to do in the future. Fuck that teacher, mind you. But it's really weird to feel so isolated in your art, and I think a lot of artists just have always felt that way, because I think that's also why we have a lot of mental health problems. And like, they'll be like, oh no, there are some like happy artists. I'm like, I don't know about that. Yeah, genuinely you can be happy and like feel good, but I think the desire to create, there is something deeply entwined with being unsatisfied with some aspect of your life that makes you want to create. And like, I could be wrong. Someone could be like perfectly content with their life and be like, no, I just like to create. That's perfectly fine. But from what I've noticed in the small people that I've interacted with that are also artists, there is something super isolating. And I think we all need to acknowledge that more, because we don't talk about it. We don't show the ugly sides, and I think that's kind of what I'm going to change about this channel already, because like, I made a few freaking videos and I was like, they just seem fake. Like, legitimately half the time I'm polishing and rewriting and redoing the script over and over, that it's not authentic. And honestly, what is being authentic? Friggin' we're all fake. There is no authenticity because we all have to be different people. We all have to wear different hats to be marketable. Or to portray different things. You're not going to be the same person you are with your friends as you are with your parents. That doesn't mean either of them are freaking bad, but we need to get back to the point where we have less of a polished look on everyone else's life. Like, social media is truly one of the worst things we've made, but also one of the greatest, like, in all honesty, because yes, we're so together, but at the same time we're so isolated still, and it's so weird. And I feel like for artists it's even worse because we're literally at a point where we're pushed into a specific section of the internet. Half of the time, people are telling us freaking, oh, you're charging too much for your service, when it takes us hours upon hours of our life to do shit. Or they're like, oh, well, I can use AI now. And then you look at the AI that's scraping so many people's art and you're like, what's the point? Especially when you don't have support of your fellow artists, because we've become so isolated from each other. Like, I don't remember the last time I've genuinely talked to, like, another artist. Like, I talked to my sister, she's a writer, I'm a writer. That's great. My roommate, I talked to him, he's a writer. He sometimes draws, but it's not to the same degree that I am. I am the one who's always, like, the one who draws and paints and does all that stuff. And it's isolating. Like, legitimately. And it kind of drives me insane sometimes. And I know I keep saying it's isolating, and you're like, just go find more artists to be friends with then. You want to be my fucking artist friend? I don't fucking know. Like, it's weird. Like, this is like the first video I've made that I haven't had a script for in a very long time, and it's just kind of my mind, where my mind is going after like watching a few videos about like authenticity and just stuff like that, because I think as a society we've really just said fuck it with community. And I think realizing that made me realize how isolated we've become due to the government. Because, like, and this is kind of a little rant, but the government has made it so you can't walk in your community, you can't freaking go get groceries, you can't live in the same place as, like, business, so you can't live above your business or run businesses out of your own shop or out of your own house, so you can't do that anymore. You can't freaking do much of really anything close to home. And then when you get to the parks are usually, well, where I lived, filled with freaking homeless people, so it's not safe for kids to play, broken down and completely destroyed, or it's too hot because they cut down all the fucking trees. So it's like, what are you actually supposed to do to build a community, even in real life, let alone online, where there's so many possibilities and also somehow none? There's no possibility to make genuine connections with the way things are set up. And if you do make genuine connections, usually there is something preventing it from being, like, fully genuine. Like, oh, distance. Oh, yeah. Fuck you that your best friend is actually in a different fucking country and you can't fly there because you're poor. Whoops. What are you gonna do? And for people also like me who have anxiety, that's just another layer of things on top of it. So people are like, oh, well, just talk to people. They act like it's so easy just to talk to a random stranger on the internet without feeling like you have a third fucking head and that everything you do is wrong. My brain automatically friggin' says that I'm bothering people. So how are you going to go out of your way, try and make a friend with another artist if you automatically assume that you're bothering them? And then, on the flip side of that, they don't want to talk to you because they think they're bothering you because you didn't text them, or you didn't message them, or you didn't do this or that. I think we legitimately have gotten to a point where we are so honestly self-involved. We are all very self-involved, but that's not even our fault because it's how we've become as a society. It's all about your journey and stuff like that. It's no longer about the community. Because personally, I would love to read more like webcomics that are made by freaking people like me who don't have even 100 followers on their webtoon. I would love to see more people who are queer and disabled. I would love to be friends with them and talk more with them and like share experiences about these things. Or even just people that I can't share experiences with, but we can come together and bond over art. But it's hard to do that when we all have our own heads shoved so far up our own asses that we've isolated ourselves to the point where we think that no one else knows what it's like to be so isolated. But we all are isolated. Everyone says, comparison isn't a good thing. But at the same time, I think it's what makes us human. Legitimately, we all compare ourselves. It is how we are as a society. Should we? No. But at the same time, we do. Saying that, oh, don't compare yourselves to, other people. You're on your own journey. That's bullshit. We're all on a journey. Doesn't mean it's our own journey, if that makes sense. Everyone is different, yes. But at the same time, we all go through the same fucking shit. Everyone will have people die in their lives. Everyone will have people be born or people come in and then leave. Everyone will have a friend breakup. Everyone will have a heartbreak at some point. We have so much in common and so much uniqueness about us that it's kind of ridiculous that we focus so much on, oh, it's your journey. No, it's fucking not. 14 other people have wanted to go down the same path as you for X, Y, or Z, okay? If we all, I want to be a comic artist. 50 million other people on the planet can say that they want to be a comic artist. Where it differs is what we make. But with capitalism and everything like that, we constantly try to make our art and our comics more digestible and more marketable. And that's where we're going wrong. Because things like Lore Olympus, I read the entirety of Lore Olympus and I can fully admit that was not the best comic. But I fully believe that the artist loved it. You know, she might have hated some parts of it, and some parts of it she had to just make more marketable. And, I fully believe that it got to a point where she was like, fuck, I just want to, stop making this. And I think that's why she had to wrap up so many different things so quickly. But I do believe that she loved it in the beginning. But I think she got so caught up in Webtoon's demands that it kind of killed her love for it. And I could be wrong. Maybe she loved it to the very end. But at the same time, I feel like the way Webtoon worked, I think it legitimately killed it for her. Because, honestly, everyone loved Lore Olympus in the beginning, okay? Yeah, it had problems, okay? All comics do. Like, look at the beginning of my freaking comic. It's not great. I want to revamp it and just go back and do that. But I am at the point where I want to go back and revamp it, okay? So, if I can go back and want to revamp it, but someone like freaking the creator of Lore Olympus doesn't want to even touch it again. That's what I've gathered anyway from like everyone saying like, oh, well, you should like do a remaster and stuff like that, and her just being like, no. I think that story is just done and the life has been sucked out of it because of Webtoon. Like, yeah, there was some problematic shit and like storylines were fucked. But if you really truly love something, why would you just say fuck it and just leave it be? That does not make sense to me. Werewolf in the Shadows, I constantly think about it and I constantly expand upon it. I have things planned out for freaking a second comic after it called Vampire in the Shadows, and even a third one called freaking Crypt in the Shadows, okay? Like, I got shit planned to a third comic and also spin-off comics. Because I love this world that I've created so much. Like, I've made continents and kingdoms, and this is kingdoms, countries, freaking history, like genuine history I have done, and I've made secret societies, I've made governments, freaking I've made so much for this world, and it just keeps getting bigger every single day because I love it genuinely. And honestly, I was getting really discouraged, and my brain was like, maybe I should just do a quick little like short comic about my D&D character after seducing a vampire, because everyone was intrigued by that. Or a lot of people were intrigued by that. Like, more than I have ever gotten about a video about Werewolf in the Shadows. Like, it got 900 views in the first day, and it's still been getting views about it. I have not had a video about Werewolf in the Shadows get that at all, ever. Like, all of them. I've made over 400 videos about Werewolf in the Shadows, and none of them have got that. So my brain was like, I do kind of want to make her a comic, but at the same time, I don't have that compulsion to make a super long comic and all of this stuff. Like, my brain for her is more like little one-shots about her and her vampire husband that she accidentally seduced. Too well, mind you. She just wanted staff, she got a different kind of staff. But yeah, it's really interesting. Because I was thinking about putting Werewolf in the Shadows on an even bigger hiatus. But I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. As I'm like been talking about this, because I still love this series so much, even though like not a lot of people do read it. But that's okay. And I know I said freaking, oh, it does matter the numbers, but it does matter, but at the same time, I honestly believe that if no one was reading this comic, I'd be working on it still. You know how I know? Because I took 3 years of not posting this comic at all to anywhere except for like little tiny drawings I've made onto TikTok and talking about it. I did that for 3 years and no one saw a single page of it until freaking, I think last year. So I guess it was 2 years, but I spent that long on it and continued working on it all throughout that time. And I think until you get to that, like, idea that literally gnaws at you, like, is chewing at your fucking ankles, wanting to be created, I don't think you can really, like, I don't even know, like, what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you can really say that you're passionate about something until something literally will not leave you alone, if that makes sense. And I could be wrong. Some people have different levels of passion. I get hyperfixated. Like, my Durara hyperfixation lasted 8 fucking years, and I'm barely climbing my way out, and I have so much fucking merch of it now, and it's ridiculous. And like, at any moment that could return, I'm going to be honest. Is it a great show? No. I can admit, it's fucking convoluted, and honestly, some of the writing is fucking bad, but I still love it. And if I can give that much grace to a show that I love and I'm obsessed with, why can't I give that same grace to my comic? What is it about my comic that makes me go, oh, well, I should just redo everything and freaking just scrap it, or something like that? It doesn't make sense. But at the same time, I want it to be the very best it can be. So it does make sense that I want to go back and fix it. And honestly, I probably will go back and refresh some of the pages because my art has changed drastically. Like, in the beginning, I did not have a good concept about anatomy. I was struggling with a lot. Like, I started freaking doing, like, my major is art. My major is art now. I've taken an anatomy class, a figure drawing class. They are different things. I've taken a forensic class which helps me about bones and shit like that, and also like wounds, okay? I've done so much. The beginning versus now of the art is fucking insane. Like, even this, I was looking at this and I was like, damn, this has changed so much. Like, I'm not even gonna finish this because this is already freaking 26, 27 minutes long. But yeah, I thought just a stream of conscious could be an interesting video, even though I'm not even, like, centered, but whatever. Bye, guys.